Through the speaker, the work that we've done was careful, as I indicated earlier, to find the sweet spot, because we do need the market housing to facilitate and generate the affordable housing. The two are connected, so that's why we have a proposal in front of you that ramps up the requirement for affordable housing without stopping the production of the overall supply.
Thank you. And another proposition has been promoted by the development and construction industry is that the inclusionary zoning is going to make housing much more expensive. Is there any truth to that?
Through the speaker again, what we tried to do is arrange a policy or propose a policy that has the land value absorbing the cost of the mandatory inclusionary zoning. So the market will bear what the market will bear.
Okay, thank you. And as it stands right now, there's no prescription for inclusionary zoning or any type of affordable housing for East Harbour or even the First Parliament lands. And this is, of course, despite them both being transit-oriented community development sites. Why are those provincial projects excluded from building with inclusionary zoning or perhaps affordable housing?
Through the speaker, I wouldn't say that they are excluded. We're negotiating with the province about the percentage of affordable housing that can be accommodated. Certainly, we take the view that there should be affordable housing at those transit stations. That would comply with provincial policy, and city policy. So we're advocating and working with the province to make sure that we have affordable housing.
Okay, thank you. But it's the city that's pushing for it. Is what I'm hearing from you.
The city programmatically is, I would say, hardwired to seek affordable housing when it comes to these transit stations. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And so this is my next set of questions. I'll try to do quickly. Is for our city solicitor. There's a legal opinion that has been produced by co-partners on behalf of Progress Toronto of an hosting zoning firm that we have used at the city before and represented the city in other matters. Have you read that letter?
Yes, I have.
Okay, thank you. And in that letter, they concluded that the blatant motion is largely in compliance with the Planning Act, meaning that the motion is in order. Would you agree with that?
Through you, Madam Speaker, there's a difference between a motion being in order and a motion that the chief planner and I would recommend. And so what I can say in public is that the legislation does require that the municipality conduct an analysis and that an independent party be retained to provide advice about that analysis. And the chief planner has provided recommendations on the basis of that analysis. And I certainly believe that the framework anticipates the council will give all of that some weight. And so I would, I'd advise the council to give significant weight to the recommendations of the chief planner.
But the motion is in order. That was my motion.
Okay, that was your last question.
Thank you.
I just have one question to the chief planner. If the minister appeals the decision, in your opinion, how long will this be delayed for?
It's hard to speculate, Madam Speaker. The OLT has a long agenda in front of it in terms of appeal matters. One might hope that they would give this some prominence, but I can't speak for how they schedule items. It's certainly important for the city to have this advanced and considered as soon as possible. But you'd likely be well into next year.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last comment.
Sorry, you'd likely be well into next year.
Right, okay. Do we have a list in the districts on how many applications that we do have that have been submitted in for affordable housing that hasn't been processed yet? Do we have that list?
There are a number of applications for affordable housing. We could likely assemble that list. We have a list that we've been using over the last couple of years, and we can update that and provide that. That's no problem. Take a little bit of work.
Okay, because there are a number of applications that come forward that are proposing affordable housing and have not been processed, correct?
There may be some that have other issues involved including conversion of employment plans.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the speakers list.
A couple of questions. I added myself to the list. I think I may have added myself to the wrong list. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, Councilor Perruzza?
Yeah, I thought I added myself to the questioners list, but I may have added myself to the speakers list.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're not on the question.
Um,
You're not on the question list. Do you have a question?
I do. I have several questions.
Okay. We'll go back to that.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
So, thank you so much, Speaker. I've been listening attentively. I have a couple of questions. One related to where the costs come from. I've looked through the report here, and every jurisdiction seems to do it a little different. But you're saying it doesn't come out of profits. It doesn't come out of the market. It doesn't come out of increased density. It comes completely out of land and absorbed by land. And I've listened attentively to all the other questions, but I don't quite still understand that. Can somebody just explain that to me, just sort of a little more rudimentary, please, on how you expect that to occur?
Maybe Matthew Bennett, you can help Councillor Perruzza with a 101 explanation, maybe? It is a complicated matter, Councillor.
Yeah, maybe a 100. A 101 maybe.
Or one about a 100.
Yeah, please.
Certainly, through the chair, Councillor, what we're doing is we're putting ourselves in the shoes of a purchaser, a land purchaser. And so if you knew something about a property, forget inclusionary zoning for instance, if you knew through your due diligence that a site had contamination, it was going to cost you $2 million to clean up the property. In short, what you would do is pay less for that property, knowing that constraint. You wouldn't then assume, rather, that you take that $2 million and increase the price of the units because the site across the street will be priced and you need to be competitive with that property. So that can't go to revenue. In some instances, profit margins.
So let me just stop you right there. For example, so I'm looking at a 1 acre site, okay? And I expect to build 100 units on there, okay? On 1 acre, right? And now I'm required to provide basically 10 affordable units or 7 depending on which, what I'm doing. So how much are those 10 affordable units in today's market expected to cost me?
Would be the construction cost of those units. So
No. I mean, the difference. Sorry, the difference to produce the affordable units. In today's market, what would it cost me to produce those 10 units?
be highly variable.
Councillor, allow the staff to
I'm not
answer.
asking.
Please.
I'm not being clear. The answer that we want. I'm trying to make the question a little clearer, Madam Speaker. I'm jumbling myself up. So the question is, the answer that I want to know is, what is the difference between what I would sell a market unit and what the inclusionary zoning unit requires me to sell it, that differential, and what does that differential add up to produce the 10 units? I'm just trying to figure out what the number is that the seller of the lands needs to absorb to create those units.
Okay, so that calculation would vary across the city because all of our markets are very unique. In general terms, if you were to price a typical unit at about $1,000 a foot for a market unit, an affordable purchase price might be in the order of $350 a foot. So
the difference is about 700,000 times 10 is $7 million. So the seller of the lands would need to now sell the lands at $7 million less than what they would have normally sold those lands for. What would you typically sell an acre of land for 100 units for now?
Could be $10
without
million.
sorry?
Could be $10 million.
10 million. So in your example then, now that land would have to come on the market for $3 million to make up that $7 million affordable, correct?
No, that would be the impact to the developer and the revenue. That's
So
$7 million hit. Goes to project revenue, not directly. There's a source.
So what would be the impact of the land? What's the number that you worked with?
With a 10% affordable margin, it can range from, it could be in the order of 20% perhaps the land value. But again, the market nuance plays a very significant role.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the number. Could you say the number again?
It's probably in the order of about 20%, the impact to land value.
So if I expected the land to sell for $2 million, now I'm selling it for $8 million, and that $2 million is going to produce those units. That's what you're suggesting, right? Okay. Although, but the math didn't work in my head, because if you said there's a $700,000 difference in terms of what a market unit would come to market for, what an affordable unit, 700 times 10 is 7 million. Like, so how do you rationalize that difference between 2 and 7?
Well, that doesn't all go to land value, Councillor. So
Right.
what happens is we have a balloon of revenue, we're shrinking that balloon, we still have costs to cover. The developer can still afford to pay a certain amount of land, a certain amount for land.
Right.
It's not as linear as that.
Okay, so while we say
Councillor Cruz, the last question.
Well, I had something on in terms of the numbers of people on our waiting list, because I'm looking at the $32,000 threshold at the bottom end for $800 on market. It's okay. I got it. Okay, I ran out of time. No worries. Sure.
Thank you.
I will meet those questions on another day.
Thank you. Okay, speakers, Councillor Baila.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The City of Toronto, I think, has requested the province some 14 times for the powers of inclusionary zoning. In 2018, when the previous government granted those powers, and this present government in 2019.
Sorry, Councillor Baila.
Oh, yes, yeah, I'm sorry.
You have a
I'm sorry,
motion.
several motions I need to move.
Can you
Yes.
move your motion, please?
Yes, so just, first motion is that we actually, if there's no appeal, we can certainly have a report that's not confidential made public. And I have another motion, I believe. So that's the supplementary report. I believe there might be one more. There we go. This is just to make sure that as soon as inclusionary zoning gets approved, we actually have information and communications plans around this policy. It's not an easy policy to understand, but it is important to set the record straight and to ensure that both industry, but most importantly, Torontonians understand what is being done in here and the impacts that it has. So hoping that I can get your support for these motions. As I was saying, Madam Speaker, since the regulations became public, staff have been working on the IZ. There was lots of consultation, and as you heard, inclusionary zoning is very, very different from city to city. In Canada, we don't have much to compare ourselves, and even those are extremely different. You have Montreal that has, for example, an affordability period of between 25 and 35 years. They have programs for social housing with heavy involvement of the other orders of government to finance that percentage. In Vancouver, inclusionary zoning has been happening since the 80s, and again, less affordability time. All this impacts this mixture that gets into the pot to come up with these numbers that need to ensure that this policy